I don't remember that day because of the plane. I remember it because of the sentence a grown man said to me in the airport while I was crying. I know where your parents are. Come on. And the way he said it, like we'd already agreed on it. I was 7. My parents and I were flying out for a vacation. It was one of those days when adults move fast and keep repeating, stay close. I did. Until I didn't. I remember us standing in line. Dad was talking to an employee. Mom had the documents in her hand. I kept looking at the planes through the window and at people rushing by with suitcases. Then my dad said something like, I'll go ask at the counter. I'm with him, Mom replied. And right then I saw a vending machine with toys, tiny little airplane models. And I took one step to the side. One step, then another. I grabbed the edge of the machine because I assumed Mom was right, behind me. I turned around and saw strangers, not Mom, not Dad. It happened fast, like someone hit mute on the world. Noise stayed, but meaning disappeared. At first I searched. Then I couldn't find. And then I understood. I was alone. I sat down by a pillar because my legs stopped cooperating, and I started crying. Not quietly, the real kind. Full panic, chest hurting, 7-year-old crying. That's when he approached me. He looked normal, not security, not staff. Around 40 maybe. Jacket, jeans, a crossbody bag, like any other traveler. He crouched a short distance away so he wouldn't look aggressive and spoke gently. Hey buddy, you lost? I nodded, wiping my face. What's your name? I told him. And what are your mom and dad's names? I told him that too, because kids assume adults who ask questions are the right kind of adults. He nodded like that confirmed something. It's okay, he said. I saw your mom near the gates. She's looking for you. I'll take you to her. Hope hit me immediately. He said it with confidence, no pause, no uncertainty, like he knew for sure. I stood up. He held out his hand. Not sudden, just helpful. And I did something that might have saved me. I didn't take it. I stood on my own. He paused for half a second, then smiled. No problem. Just stay close. I'll show you. We started walking. At first, he headed in the right direction, toward the crowds, the screens, the gates. I almost believed I'd see my parents any second. Then he shifted us slightly. Not dramatic, just enough to angle toward a corridor where there were fewer people. I remember asking, "Where's my mom?" He didn't even look back. "She's that way," he said, pointing ahead without explaining. That's when I noticed something. He wasn't taking me to an information desk. He wasn't taking me to security. My mom had always told me, if you get lost, find someone in uniform. He wasn't in uniform. So I asked again, "Who are you?" His smile widened, but his eyes didn't change. "A friend of your parents," he said. "They asked me to help." It sounded normal, and also not, because if my parents had asked someone to help, they would have told me, if a man named Jiu comes, go with him. But nobody told me anything. We passed the bathrooms. He didn't stop, but he glanced at the entrance like he was checking for my mom. Then he said something I still remember word for word. "Your mom asked you not to make noise. She's already nervous." I stopped crying, because that hit my kid brain exactly where it hurts. Guilt. Don't be a problem. Don't make trouble. We entered a hallway with fewer people. I remember there were a couple of service doors and a vending machine. He leaned down and lowered his voice. You're doing great. We're just going to go through here, and they're right there. I looked at the door he pointed to. There was a sign. Staff only. I didn't fully understand English at 7, but I'd seen only enough to know it meant not for everyone. And it didn't feel like it was for kids. I stopped. He took another step, noticed I wasn't following, and turned around. Well, he said, and for the first time his tone had impatience. Come on, I said quietly. I want security. He smiled, but the smile tightened. Security is busy. We'll waste time. Your mom? I want security, I said again. This time he didn't smile right away. He stepped closer and dropped his voice. Listen to me carefully. You're lost. I'm helping you. Don't make this difficult. Something in my head changed, because good adults don't talk like that. I stepped backward, and that's when he grabbed my wrist. Not violent, not movie style, just firm, like a person who doesn't want you to run. Let's go, he said. I yanked my arm. His grip tightened and I understood. This wasn't I'll take you. This was I'm taking you. So I screamed. Not words at first, just a loud, raw kid scream. He leaned down immediately and spoke fast. Hey, quiet, quiet. I'm your... But the scream did what screams do. A woman in uniform came around the corner. Airport staff or security, I'm not sure which, but she was clearly official. She saw us and stopped instantly. What's going on? She asked sharply. He didn't hesitate. He talked first. This is my nephew. I screamed again, this time with words. He's not my uncle. I'm lost. The hand on my wrist loosened immediately, not because he changed his mind, because he realized he was about to be checked. The woman stepped closer and looked at my wrist. Let go of the child, she said. He smiled like it was a misunderstanding. He's scared. Let go. Now, she repeated. He let go. And then he did the scariest thing. He backed away. No arguing, no convincing, no insisting. Just step by step. Then he turned and walked straight into the crowd. The woman raised her radio and spoke into it, but he was already swallowed by people and distance. She crouched beside me and put her hands on my shoulders. Gentle. What's your name? She asked. I told her. Do you know your mom or dad's phone number? I gave her my mom's number. I knew it by heart because she'd taught me just in case. She called immediately and led me to a desk where there were cameras and more staff. Someone handed me a cup of water. I didn't drink it. I just kept scanning the crowd, because now I was afraid he'd come back. A few minutes later, around 7:28 p.m., I remember the time on a clock above the screen, I heard my mom yell my name. She ran toward me. My dad was right behind her. My mom grabbed me so hard I couldn't breathe. She was crying and repeating my name like she couldn't believe I was real. My dad started talking to security immediately. He was furious, but trying to stay controlled. The woman who stopped him explained quickly. A man was leading the child toward a staff area. The child screamed. The man let go and disappeared. Security asked me questions in a small room. What did he look like? What did he say? Did he know our last name? Did he know where we were going? I couldn't describe his face well. I'd been staring at his hand, the door, the sign, but I knew what mattered. He didn't know anything specific. He got information from me. Later, I heard a guard say to my dad, he didn't know them. He was pulling details out of the child. We didn't fly that day. My parents didn't care about the tickets. They just wanted to go home. For weeks, I couldn't walk into a store alone. I hated when adults came close to me. Then, months later, my dad showed me a photo from the news. He looked different, like someone trying not to break something. The picture showed a man in a jacket like the one I remembered. The article said a man had tried to help a lost child in another airport. This time he was stopped because the parent reached them faster. My dad said, "That's him." I stared at the photo. I couldn't be 100% sure, but the pattern felt too familiar. First, kindness. Then, questions. Then, "I know where your parents are." Then, a turn toward less crowded places. Then, a hand on the wrist. I'm not 7 anymore, and when I see a child crying in an airport, I don't approach them alone. I find staff, security, an information desk, because I know one thing for sure. Someone who truly wants to help a lost child doesn't lead them somewhere with fewer people. And they never say, "Don't make noise."